Hey guys, Chris Fix here. Today we're going to be doing a front bearing replacement on a 2009 Pontiac G8. So the front bearing is going to be really easy. It's a hub bearing assembly, so you don't need to press it. It screws right in. We'll be working on the driver's side front wheel. We'll be using this Mevotech hub assembly. Since the engine is rear wheel drive, there's no axle nut. And this is nice and simple. It has the ABS sensor built in. You got 3 bolts that go in and then you're done. So let's begin. So what we're going to do, it's very simple. All you have to do is remove the caliper and the rotor. So we're going to go and take off that bolt right there. Use your breaker bar, it's an 18mm. Get it on there. We'll crack this bolt loose. So now that we got this top caliper bolt cracked loose, we're going to go down here and get the bottom caliper bolt right there. Now we can use our smaller ratchet and get those 2 bolts off. That's one. Before we get that bottom bolt out, once you take that bottom bolt out, the whole caliper is going to come off. And you don't want the caliper to hang by the brake line. So just get a bucket or something and slide it underneath so that you can put the caliper right on the bucket. Okay, so we got that bolt out. So wiggle the caliper loose like that. And we can put the caliper right on there. Now we can get the rotor off. So the rotor is being really stubborn, doesn't want to come off. It's all that rust that's in there. So we're going to use a slide hammer and just grab on here. And then we're going to just yank backwards. And that's going to pull this right off. Normally the rotor should just come right off. But this one was being a pain. With the rotor off, you can see there's one bolt thread there. There's another one there. We're going to end up going back here to get them out. But before we do that, let's get some penetrating fluid. And we'll put it right where the hub and the knuckle meet. Go on this side too. So when we look at the new part, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3 bolts that hold this hub in. And when you look from the outside, you can see there's 1 bolt there, which is that bolt right up there. And then there's also a bolt right down there. And then there's the 3rd bolt on the other side right over there. And this black thing here is the ABS, which we're going to disconnect right now. Pry down on this and wiggle up here. Just like so. I'd also consider using penetrating fluid on these bolts. Just make it easier to get off. So now this is not like a normal bolt. You can't use a regular socket. You have to use one of these hex sockets, 6-sided. In this case it's a 10mm. So we'll start in the bottom corner here and get this one off first. So depending on how tight these are on there and how well the penetrating fluid worked, you might need a breaker bar or at least a really long ratchet. Okay, got that one out. Now we're looking from the other side to get that far one. Got that one out. Now we're going to go up here and get that last one. That was our last one and it's out. So now if we had a nice hub, this would pop right off. But that's not going to happen, it's going to be rust welded on there. So we're going to have to use the slide hammer. So we have our slide hammer puller. You saw me use it before. All you have to do is yank back and all the momentum pulls it right off. Now for this, we want to get this, which attaches right onto the hub. So this slides right on, and then you get your lug nuts. Then you get your slide hammer, you get your threaded end, and you screw it right in. There we go. Now you can see right in here is all rusty, and that's why it's so hard to get off. Before you put the new hub assembly on, you want to clean out all of this, so use a metal wire brush. Just get in here, get it nice and clean. Now I'm going to get some anti-seize, and I'm going to just put a little bit right in here, just so the next time you have to do this, hopefully never again, but just in case, you could easily get it off. Just need a little bit, not a lot. Just rub it all the way around. You could also put some right on here. Now with the new one here, there's no particular way it's supposed to go in, but if you remember, the ABS sensor was kind of on this side, so I'm just going to put it back in that way. And that just goes right in. Now we can get our 3 bolts in, tighten them down. So we have those 3 bolts that we unscrewed. So since this has the red Loctite, what you want to do is you want to get a screwdriver or something to get in here and dig all that red Loctite out because it's solid. So once you finally get these relatively clean, just get your blue Loctite where your red Loctite was. Just put a little bit, you don't need a lot. just about that much, and that's perfect, and that'll just prevent vibrations from loosening this up. We'll get this first one up here. We'll do the top one first. Just tighten it by hand first, get it in there. We'll do the bottom one next. Goes right in. And the last one is the far one on this side. So go in here, thread it in by hand, just like the others. So now we're going to torque these bolts. They have to be torqued down to 79 foot-pounds. Get your torque wrench in here. We'll do the far side first. Get it right in there. Okay, that's one torqued. Good, that's two torqued. Okay, that's three torqued. They're all torqued down, ready to go. So now don't forget about your ABS sensor, because then your ABS light will come on, and that just clicks right in. Now we're going to put the rotor on, then put the caliper on, tighten down the two bolts, and we're done. Before we put our rotor back on, you saw we had a hard time taking it off. That's because the rotor gets rusted right to the hub. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take some anti-seize. You don't need a lot. Just use some on here. And just cover that, and that'll prevent anything rust welding together, so you'll be able to get your rotor off a lot easier next time. So now we'll get our rotor on. I'm going to get a lug on here, just for now. And that'll just hold this rotor as we put the brake caliper on. The brake caliper we could just slide right on. Just like so. We have our caliper bolts. We're going to just put a little bit of blue Loctite on them. You don't need a lot, just a little bit. And we're going to get our caliper bolt, slide that in, just like that, and then we can hand tighten it. Now we'll go behind, get that bottom one in. Hand tighten that until you can't hand tighten it anymore. Good. So now we'll go in and just tighten these up. Start with the top one. Good. Once that's snug, we'll go to the bottom one. And once you snug this up all the way, now we can torque them down. So now we're going to use the torque wrench and torque down the top caliper bolt to 44 foot-pounds plus 120 degrees. Okay, so that's torqued. Now we need to do 120 degrees. So that's a little bit more than 90. Okay, top one's torqued. Now we'll do the bottom. Good, and then you just want to pay attention and you want to do 120 degrees. I'm actually going to go back to the regular ratchet to do the extra 120 degree angled turn. I already did the top, but it'll make my life easier for the bottom one. Okay, that's how you replace out one of these hub bearings. It's very simple. Hopefully this video is helpful. If it was, remember to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing.